So a lot of people have actually asked me over the past couple weeks. They were depressed and they were upset, and a lot of things were bothering them about what happened. So I wanted to sort of say some words that maybe will bring a little bit of calm to people in the situation. So first of all, people have to understand that yes, we were upset that Trump did not win, but God's plan is not necessarily for Trump to win. God's plan is to destroy Amalek, to destroy the left. That that is that is God's yes. That is God's plan. So we may understand that for us and our limited knowledge of intelligence, our scope, having Trump win, he makes the most sense, obviously, because all the good he's done, he's what he did for Klal Yisrael, what he did for morality and decency in America, and then vis-a-vis that the world. So it would be, we assumed in our mind that it would make a lot of sense for Trump to continue to be the president, because that's going towards the goal of destroying Amalek, because that's what he's been doing the whole time. He's really fighting against the left, fighting against the media, fighting against all the different aspects of that. But God has sometimes different plans. And God's way of doing something, inadvertently turns out to be a lot smarter than what we could even ever think of, Like the story that Mom used to always say, where someone was praying for money. He wants money, he needs at least $100, and he's looking for this opportunity and that opportunity. Nothing happens. One day he gets up in the morning, he opens the window, and in blows $100, right? So he says, God, like this, I never even thought. So God comes up with ways that we can't even think of. So first of all, the number one thing is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is kulo chesed, complete kindness, complete goodness. So if he is doing it in this way, there's definitely a benefit and a goodness that's going to come out of this particular thing. Because the ultimate goal is to destroy Amalek. So number one, the very first thing that is really, really a relief was that because Trump was not officially made the winner after the election, all the riots that were planned I was told it was like 400 locations across the country. They were gearing up, mobilizing for destruction. And that didn't happen. It was mamash chesed, a kindness, a goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to make sure that people would have been hurt, businesses would have been destroyed, who knows what would have been out of control. And that didn't happen. So that was an amazing kindness, number one.
But that could still happen if it
Yes.
ends up that they give them. Okay.
Of course it could still happen. But
at least they will be prepared for it.
And, exactly. And by the way, Trump actually prepared in a way because he got rid of the previous Secretary of Defense and certain people in the Pentagon who were against him, dealing with those kind of riots. He has now set up in the Pentagon people who would support him using the Insurrection Act to go against these particular things. That's number one.
And I'm sure that Flynn is going to be back also.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. Now, the other thing is that if Trump would have won, then all the corruption, the whole depth of the corruption that took place with the voting would not. It would not have been revealed. It would not have been revealed. In order for justice to be done, we had to root out all this evil that was there for who knows how many years, the corruption, and only Trump was capable of doing that. There's no other person would have withstood all the pressures that are being, at this very moment, that are being directed towards him and the people working with him to try to get him to concede, to make fun of all the things supposedly that he's doing, to make fun of all the lawyers that are working with him. One thing after the other, the media, and not just the media, even Republicans and others are trying to do. One of the things that has to happen when the left is destroyed, justice has to prevail. So you have to root out all the corruption, which is something that needs to be done. Now, God could send another flood and completely wipe out Washington and everything, but he probably, hopefully, was thinking of doing it a different way. In the time of the flood, for example, God waited many, many years until he decided to finally destroy everybody, hoping that they would change their ways. And what was the and what was the final thing? One of the final things that broke the camel back, so to speak, that took it over the top, that was corruption. People trying to get away with robbery, with stealing, with chamas it's called. There's different types of chamas. This is one form of chamas, which is robbery. There's also immorality in a sexual chamas. Both those things were there prevalent at that time, and that was the thing that took it over the top, over the edge, so to speak. But what they tried to do, one of the examples given is they tried to steal in ways where they would not be able to be caught and prosecuted for it. I mean, for example, the example given was that they would steal less than the shava pruta, less than the value of a pruta. You can't take it to court. It's too little, but it still damages the person. And if you keep doing enough of it, or things like that, then you are
taking a penny out of your account
out of a million accounts. 100%. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Very good. 100%. So things like that add up to a very huge robbery, but it's not necessarily a prosecutable. I know. I paused the tape. Yes. Yeah, listen, by the way, in this day and age, it's not easy to find an audience to speak to. You know what I mean? So it's really nice that I'm able to find an audience to speak to. Thank you very much for being the audience, because you should know that it's.
Oh my God.
I mean,
this is amazing. Come on, go ahead.
I see these people. Unfortunately, I see these people, like great people who are good speakers in Nebuch. They have to speak in their kitchen, to the dishes, and it's not the same to speak to your dishes as it is to speak to people. I've seen a lot of people. As a matter of fact, there's because of this situation, it's hard to find people to talk to. So when you have a feedback, it makes it a lot better. Thank you very much for being my feedback, everybody who's here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So in that respect, what I wanted to say was that we should know that we are definitely under HaKadosh Baruch Hu's care. And yes, it is difficult to see the evil that is going on. It is difficult to see people suffering needlessly from all these things, shutdowns, their businesses are going under, the parnasa, people's livelihoods are being destroyed, people's sanity, people's mental state, children who don't have a chance to play with others. I mean, a lot of things that are we took for granted. I notice now in the streets, people aren't saying hello to each other anymore. And when you say hello to somebody, they don't answer you back because they have a mask. And you have a mask. And they don't know who you are. They don't want to know who you are. And they can get away with not saying.
Everybody is suspicious of each other.
That's also, if you, God forbid, your mask slips down a little bit, some people will look at you like, So, but aside from that, so people are beginning to drift away, and that's exactly what these dividers want. But so that's number one. So number one and two, I think, is that Kadosh Baruch Hu does everything out of kindness, and not to, God forbid, neglect and be incompassionate and insensitive to the evil that's happening. We must, because we must pray that this evil stops. That's part of the thing that's going on over here. We want to show that we commiserate, that we actually can empathize with with the evil happening to them. So that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants also, that we should be mispal, we should pray for other people like that. But aside from that,
Compassionate.
Compassion. But aside from the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, number one, prevented these riots from happening. Number two, he wants to show the extent, reveal and expose the extent of the corruption. He wants the left to really show who they are. And number two, he wants the left to pack in as many evil things as they can. Because the Sfarim talk constantly about the concept of mole sasam, filling up their baskets.
Wow.
Yeah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did that during the time of the flood. He did it again during the time that the Jewish people were suffering in Egypt. He allowed them to suffer so that the Egyptians can get paid back a lot more, a lot worse. He allowed many times he waits, hopefully for people to do tshuva, but if not, he waits for their baskets to be filled so that they can be punished when they're going to be punished. Let's punish them. Why should we punish them for a few things? Let's punish them for a lot of things and really give it to them by good. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu right now is waiting for the baskets of the evil, of the Amalek, of the Erev Rav, of the left to get filled up so that they can really, really be destroyed. And a matter of fact, my wife pointed out, because she says Tillim every single day, and she also says extra Tillim for different things. She decided not so long ago to say the Tillim that corresponds with Trump. Trump is 84.
75.
So Kapitel Ayin Hey, Perek 75. And Perek Ayin Hey 75 talks exactly about this idea of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is waiting to pay back the evil people till their baskets are full. And that we will talk about in another speech, where we'll go a little bit deeper into Kapitel 75 Ayin Hey.